Welcome to Playing the Big, Beautiful Long Game, where entrepreneurship meets spirituality. In this podcast, we explore the intersection of personal fulfillment, spiritual growth, and business success. This podcast delves into the idea that entrepreneurship is not just about profits or growing businesses. It's also about embracing purpose, meaning, and inner growth. Each episode features conversations with entrepreneurs and thought leaders who share their journeys of building businesses that align with their highest values and deepest calling. I'm your host, Debbie Zita. Sit back, relax, and thank you for being here. Oh, beautiful Candy, thank you so much for making the time to be here with us. Can you please share with the audience who you are and what it is that you do?
Thank you, Deb. My name is Candy the Creator. Well, that's the label that I've become known as. And my mission is to elevate the woman in her creative essence and helping her building a business online. So I specialize in helping women scale their online businesses through content, messaging, marketing. However, in a way where it's led through the soul. So something that I do is I infuse business energetics into the brand and the element and how we can separate ourselves from the masses of social media. So that is my my peanut butter jelly jam that I honestly know that I'm here to do and at a greater level. And I just love that you entered this podcast with that heart-centered and heart-led process. Because something that I'm really passionate about is leading from unconditional love. And this is actually really something I've only started tapping into thanks to my journeys to some spiritual lands that I have visited recently. And really, it's like at the depth of what I do is, yes, I teach women how to create content online, to build a business online, to build a personal brand, and how to create cash flow from that.
Yes.
Oh dear. But in the greater aspect of that, it really is people get to experience the unconditional love that I'm here to transmit, and through that, they believe in themselves enough to take that decision and to lead from their soul calling. That's what I'm here to do.
Yay, amazing. I want to thank you so much for being here because I've been watching you on Insta. I've been watching you and your beautiful life partner, Alex. And I was like, these girls are amazing. These women are amazing. I want to keep following. And then I just felt called to reach out to you. And you said yes. And then we chatted. And you're such a beautiful soul and you're beautiful on the outside. But to me, beauty on the outside is reflected in beauty from our inner dimension. So you've got a beautiful heart and a beautiful soul. I've been on this journey for a long time and we've had chats about some of my parts of my journey as well, and the frustration around wanting to go to multi six figures, wanting to go to seven figures, but for me having sort of plateaued, I guess, at that six-figure level. And I hear you talk about, business energetics, and a part of me is like, oh, yeah, I know all that stuff already, right? But I also always come from a growth mindset, which is I'm always learning. You're always learning. We're all always learning.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us, like, when you say business energetics, what does that specifically mean for you?
Great question, because it is such a broad topic. And for me, business energetics is like I mentioned earlier, being able to tap into what your future self, the version of you who has it all, the success, the freedom, the time, the wealth, the health, the fitness, the relationships, everything that the at your fullest desires. Business energetics for me is tapping into that version and creating your business from her.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I do with my clients is I teach them how to connect into their future and how to channel their higher self or to channel their future self and to create from a place of that level of alignment and let your intuition guide you in making those business moves and infusing frequency work, vibrational identity work, energetic work into this, and nervous system regulation as well into this, to be able to not only it help you make decisions in business, but to also expand your concept of self and also expand your energetic capacity to receive more. Because
Mm.
ultimately, as we scale as in a business, with that comes more responsibility, more cash flow, more, and it requires us to hold more energy. And to expand our capacity means that we actually get to hold more, which means we get to hold more money, means we get to hold more impact. So it's about aligning our vibrational identity with the future version of us and creating regulation in our current state to time collapse and shift into the version of us in the future way quicker than any other 3D normal paradigms or business ways that most people teach.
This is so interesting because the whole thing with this podcast and everything that I teach is all about the big, beautiful, long game. And that came from my authenticity, which is, part of what I do is jumping into the future self and moving through the timeline and walking through accessing the vision, accessing the energetics, speaking to your higher self, speaking through your soul and your heart. And to me, they're different aspects as well. Bringing it into
Mm-hmm.
the now and then moving into, the next phase. Um, the challenging thing, I guess, is, can we have the big, beautiful, long game, but then also collapse that time frame as well?
I 100% agree. I 100% absolutely believe so. And I think my own journey is testament to that. And there's a beautiful dance between moving the goalpost and also shifting timelines that allows you to get results in a much quicker time. And I mean, for me, I scaled from zero to multi six figures in the first 12 months of my business. And that's pretty solid numbers. That's a pretty solid result. And a massive attribute to that work to be able to even create that as a reality for myself was leveraging business energetics. And I believe that was a process of me consistently quantum leaping and time collapsing. Like quantum leaping, in my understanding, is just doing the thing before you're ready. And in that process, you're going to get results a lot quicker than what it would have been through waiting, getting the resources, implementing the slow journey, right?
Right.
When we quantum leap, we take action a lot quicker. And as a result from that, we get results a lot faster, which allows us to jump through timelines quicker, get results faster, and really bring that what was once a 2 year, 5 year goal down into 12 months. And it also gives us the opportunity to also reinvent the goalpost and reinvent or evolve our vision of what our future is. So we're consistently growing and expanding and having a greater impact on the world. Because I know when I first started, like the mission that I'm in now and the level of impact that I'm creating, I definitely that wasn't real. That wasn't my future identity at that time. The future identity at that time was just someone who had a business, who was financially stable and secure independently, and was creating from her passion. I'm that version now. I am that version now. Like that's just that's my normality. But my future version now, she's a whole different level. It's like global impact, seven figures, widespread connections and impact and influence. So yes, condensing that time period is it gives us the opportunity to impact at a greater level at a much faster speed and also to experience more that this life has to offer.
It's such a beautiful sharing. Is there a way, like, can you give us, because here's the thing with energetics, as you and I both know, and anyone who's listening who's done any kind of energy work, we have the level of understanding at the intellect, like we're like, okay, that's a concept. I think I know what you mean. But then actually bringing that into your system, that's the energetic part.
Body.
It's it's your DNA, it's the programming, it's the neuroplasticity, it's the soul level. There's so many different things to it. Are you able, like, is there an example, like when you said, doing the action before it's kind of ready, like that kind of brings you, I guess, out of the comfort zone? Like, is there an example that you can share either from yourself or a client that you're like, yeah, babe, like this is what we did. Like she went and spoke to, I don't know, like what's an example where we can share with the
Mm.
audience what that actually looks like in real terms?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I have so many examples of my own life, and I think something that, I usually utilize as an example for me, because I think it speaks to a lot of people, is the fact that I ran my first event, um, 3 months into my business. And that was February last year, and I ended the year having clocked 12 events under my belt, right? So, and I feel like I speak about this a lot in the sense of so many people, and I see this quite common in the industry, put a goalpost outside of themselves and give them so much of a grace period. Like 6 months, the amount of people that I've spoken to that are like, oh, I really want to run an event this year. I'm like, amazing, like good on you. When? And they're like, oh, maybe like, at the end of the year or 6 months from now. And I'm just like, that is prolonging the process. And yes, you're moving towards your goals in your future self. However, if you want to time collapse that, do it in 2 months. Do it like half the time that you think it takes to do something
Mm.
and do it in that. So I started my business I officially launched on the 11th of the 11th, 2023, obviously, spiritual numbers. And then in on Valentine's Day, February 14th, the next year, so about 4 months, I ran my first event. And it wasn't just like a free event, it was actually a paid ticketed event. And this event was also marketed to six-figure entrepreneurs, seven-figure entrepreneurs as a luxury networking content business event.
Right.
This gal's been in business for about 4 months and now she's marketing this type of event, right? And it was a soul download. It was like, oh, this is something that I want to do. I haven't seen this done before. I want to create this space for me, for the past version of me, because the past version of me would have loved this. So I'm just going to create it for myself because I know there's many other people who would probably love this type of experience. So I received the download and I implemented it straight away. And I know that to be able to get the results from that results faster, it is a time thing
Mm.
of receiving the information and implementing it as fast as possible. So that's an example of really allowing implementing faster, collapsing time and also listening to the soul downloads.
Thank you so much for sharing. And how can we, when we're looking at people who are, let's say, caring for elderly parents, people who are raising children, like and I'm thinking this is me and this is most of the audience here. It's like, and call out if it's a limiting belief if you think it is, because, by all means, maybe it is, but, you can challenge me and I can challenge it back or agree or disagree. But it's like, I would prefer to do it in 3 or 6 months because that calms my nervous system down because I need to be available to my son. Also, he's got some extra needs because of the way that he is. So sometimes I'll get days where I'm called and I need to kind of just, tend to that and navigate the clients that I'm already delivering for, managing Instagram, managing tax, everything else that comes with the business. How can we, do you think, still collapse timelines when there's real kind of family responsibilities? And have you seen that happen?
Mm.
Like, what's some advice that you would give to someone like me or me directly?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's taking into consideration, yes, of course, you've got so many external commitments of caring for the elderly and caring for your beautiful child as well, and knowing that it's like, is this beautiful dance between, okay, is implementing this at a faster rate, then creating more opportunities for me to have that time freedom and more of it in the future if I do the hard thing now. And I truly believe because um like even when I was first starting my business, I was still working full time as an emergency nurse. So there was also a multitude of commitments. Plus, I was also prepping for a bodybuilding competition as well. So there were so many things that I was committing myself to. And I know, I'm like, if I'm receiving this download, I know it's possible, period, full stop. And something that I also believe in my core is called success loves speed and also failure loves compromise.
Can you repeat those two things?
Success loves speed
Okay.
and failure loves compromise.
Okay.
Because of course we can compromise to give our time to our loved ones. And this may come as harsh. And also, if we give ourselves that time in the now, what freedom and flexibility are we opening up further along for them to give to them, to honor them? And I also believe that if we are being called to facilitate something or take action, to run an event, for example, even though our human mind will conceptualize it from a place of there's this thing like I need to do this, I need to care for my son, I need to care for my mother, I need to run this event, I also need to tend to my clients, I also have a business run, I've
Mm.
also got a family to care for. Again, it's like that's human logic is conceptualizing what the soul is calling you to do, and that that human mind conceptualizing what soul is trying to do is the death of dreams.
So what I'm hearing you say is it's really connecting to that deep core part of yourself, receiving the download, trusting it, and following that, which I can relate to because I did exactly that, even though I was a mum and I did have a son, and I went through something so big that I had and I don't usually swear, but if I do, we offer a warning on the podcast, and I don't think that you're going to mind if I do swear, but I had a fuck it moment where I let my son stay with his dad and I was called to go to New York and to LA. And along that path line or timeline, I met my now life partner. I created my now, 6-figure per year business, which yes, I know I want to, up level. But at that time, that was really scary and big and huge for me to do that. I managed to work with women from 7 different countries. I got to meet Marianne Williamson. I gave her a copy of my book. I got to have an AGM on top of the Empire State Building, like all of that. Oh, and I went to Paramahansa Yogananda Shrine in LA, right, which is a sacred site in LA, and exchange rings with my partner after 13 days. So I so get that. I so get that. But then what happened was I came back to Melbourne and then kind of, I think, like nestled into maybe the old
Mm-hmm.
identity. And also a big thing for me is like my son's in year 10. So I'm like, got to be here, got to be here, got to be here, got to stay here. But I feel so pulled to not be in Melbourne because I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm meant to reach more people. But I also do this thing, and I don't know if you do this, Candy, but I'll chat to myself on my deathbed where I'm like, honey, what do we do? Like, what's the thing here? And the download I always get is just get through year 12. Like do what you're doing in the business, keep everything afloat, do it. If it's boom, amazing, take it. If it's just okay, take it. But just like get him through to year 12. And so I think as I'm sharing, I hope you don't mind me kind of bouncing ideas like soul to soul, but you're holding the container for me to do that. And I'm hoping in this space, it's not to be selfish and use this time for me. It's actually to share so that others listening can go, yeah, Deb, I relate. I've got kids. I've got, I'm in my 40s or I'm in my 50s. And yeah, yeah, yeah. But for me, the guidance is wait and then go to, okay, what's my soul want now? And I guess I'm asking you, how do we know, is that my soul or is that a limiting belief on my mind? Like, how do I know the difference?
Have you asked?
I think so. I think
You
so. But
think or
like,
you know?
here's what I know. I know I wouldn't feel good about myself if I wasn't 100% devoted to my son at this time of his life. Like I'm concerned I regret that I followed something that I know is going to happen in my timeline because I've known that since I was a little girl. Like I was 3 when I knew I was here to be of impact. I was always going to work for myself. I was always going to be very spiritual. I was told no for all those things from everyone around me because I had no support. That wasn't what I did in that culture, in that, world. And I dismantled all of that and left that and created it. So yeah, I think it is. I think that that's my timeline. But yeah,
Mm,
I think it is. I think it is. As much as I'd like it now.
mm. Do
Yeah.
you believe that you can have both?
I would love to sit in a place where I can. That's part of why I reached out to you. I do. I don't think it has to be that you have to wait. I think there's probably a possible reality where I can still do the drop-offs to school and still be there online for him. But then yes, also be like, oh my goodness, 30K, 50K months. And that's my normal. Whereas right now
Mm-hmm.
that's the exception, right? But
Mm,
that should be now my normal.
yeah, right. So this is a choice that you get to create both. So it's like, okay, have you asked yourself, can I have both? Have you asked that part of you? Because I love that you bring death into this because something that I'm so blessed that I got to experience was going through and experiencing quite a lot of death when I was in like my late teens and also as a nurse. I cared for a lot of people on their deathbed. I saw people who had left their house in the morning to go about their normal day in the life and end up with their chest being pounded on a few hours later in the emergency department. So I've seen and experienced death in a way that most people haven't. And that gifted me this perspective of, and because especially with a lot of the people that are on their deathbeds, how many of them express regret and how many of them express, I wish I did that, or I wish I started this earlier, or I wish I just gave myself a shot, or, and not just, you know, gave it a crack, but gave it a red hot fucking crack and gave it my absolute all.
Mm.
And so I've lived with that and being like, if I was to die tomorrow, would I be happy that I've given it a red hot crack? And it's so funny that you bring this up because I literally was just having this conversation with my videographer and I was like, the way I show up in my life is
Mm.
because I'm like, if I was to die tomorrow, would I be happy? A few years ago, that would be no, not even remotely. And today I'm like, I know I've got so much to fucking do in this world. However, I've given it all that I have in the last few years. So yeah, I would be happy to like pass on knowing that the time that I have, I gave it my all. And I think this is a really important piece that some people don't think about or don't really take themselves there
Mm.
and forget that every single day is a blessing rather
Mm.
than, oh, I'm just going to put this off for then because, you know, having this because idea that tomorrow is guaranteed when we all know it's not.
No.
And I love that you speak to yourself in that way and you connect into the version of you who is on her deathbed. And it's like, can you go deeper than that? Can you like ask, can I have both ways? If I was to have both ways, what would that look like?
Mm.
And start to actually open up a conversation of the potential and the possibility of if you had both, what would it look like? And how would you do that?
I'm taking it in, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm feeling the internal things within myself going like, I haven't actually asked that question. And I know that you and I connected on that death conversation in one of our one-to-one chats off record, because I have also lost so many people, friends and family, and people that were kind of like my world because they were like closest of friends, and just like one was my mother when I was pregnant, and yes, that was part of what took me onto the path of wanting to be an entrepreneur and wanting to be a spiritual entrepreneur and wanting to understand my heart and wanting to come to a place of I gave it my everything. And I actually know I have. Like if I left tomorrow, it would be a resounding fuck yes, I've given it my all every day, because that's I know that I have. But I haven't asked the question though, can I have both now?
Mm,
Right, that I haven't actually inquired about. So I'm going to take that seriously, because it's not an accident that you have, you've come from your nursing background. I've come from a social work background. I've been doing this for a long time and I've reached a certain level. You've been doing this for a short time and reached a certain level. And I also want to say to anyone listening, and myself included, that doesn't make anyone better or worse than anything else. It's just experiences that we're having, and we're just witnessing these experiences. Candy's beautiful and amazing. I'm beautiful and amazing. The listener, you're beautiful and amazing. It doesn't carry worth, because Candy, you and I both know when we transition, it's actually the spirit and the soul that is, that's what we're leaving with. What we've done here is the soul's journey, and everyone's is unique, but it doesn't make us better or worse. We're all equally beautiful. I believe this is how I see the
mm,
world. But with that
amazing.
said, while I'm embodied and my soul has a body, it has the meat suit, I do want to be
Amazing.
playing, my and reaching my potential, and hence this conversation is happening. So yes, I am going to inquire and ask, can I have both? And I want to invite the listeners to also inquire and ask themselves. There's a question coming through that I'm downloading and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to ask you. If there was a moment in time where, like that sliding doors crossroads moment, where there was, the life of you being a nurse and doing all of that, which is really honorable and beautiful and lovely, right? And then there was this path that you're now on. Like, was there one moment where you made like that line in the sand decision? Like, did that happen for you? And if it did, what was that?
Do you mean in respect to okay, this is it. I'm making my decision and I'm cutting
Yeah.
the cords?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there definitely was a moment I can literally remember it as clear as day in the sense of it was very interesting to be honest because I had kind of started going down the I guess personal development route, the business route, and I knew that there would come a time where I would leave my nursing career. And I mean, I was victim to my own limiting beliefs where I was like, oh, that'll be in 6 months' time. Because I was, I was, I guess, avoiding taking that radical, like, or radical decision that may be perceived as irresponsible from society.
Right.
Because I was in a notable, respectable, well-paid, safe career and leaving that for something that is completely unknown
Right.
is quite often, I guess, identified as radical and irresponsible. But even though my soul was like, this is what we're doing. So for me, I knew that the journey was coming to an end. I knew at some point I would actually leave my career. And I put it outside of myself about probably more than 6 months, to be honest, down the line. And it actually was I started building resentment for my career. And even though I loved it, and I still have so much love for it, and there's moments where I miss it,
Mm.
um, I knew it was just holding me back. And so I started building resentment to it. And I was like, fuck,
Mm.
like I have so much here to give and to offer. And I'm giving that precious time away to the hospital.
Yeah.
And it was actually when I invested in my now mentor. And the moment that I said yes to working with her, she's like, great, your first task is to resign from your nursing career. And she had known me like for quite some time. So she knew my journey. And we had been friends for a while and um she every time I would see her, she'd be like, when are you leaving nursing career? When are you leaving nursing career? I'm like, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet. I love it. I want to do both. Like I want to do the content and I want to I want to do my career. I love it. And so she was just consistently like, you're meant for more. Come on, nudge, nudge. And then so when I said yes to her, she's like, okay, if you're saying yes to me, then you also need to say yes to yourself, which means it's when you get off this phone call, you're putting in your letter of resignation into the hospital. And I was like, I had a schedule, but okay. Like I was like, all right. And so I did. And I was like, yep, okay. It was the last kind of like I guess, push that I needed because I knew it was coming. I just needed someone to be like, let, come on,
Yeah.
let's go. Yeah. And that was it. I had in my letter of resignation, and 2 weeks later, I was leaving the emergency doors.
Do you think that there are, some people who that's available to? Like I'm seeing, I'm going to reference, who I know, which is you and your beautiful life partner, Alex. And I think it might be you. It may be Alex. So forgive me if I'm misinterpreting the content here, but I think Alex talks about like a delusional state of belief. Like, is that you or Alex or both of you?
I think like both of us, but
Yeah.
I talk about delusional all the time. Like Delulu is just Delulu is like my motto, and basically that's been my life
Yeah.
life path. Delusion.
So it's like how, and I have call it a limiting belief or call it a programming of, within social work, and before that I was studying psychology and sociology and philosophy, and I'm a mental health first aider, and my first like proper job as an adult was in mental health. So I think I'm also coming from this programming of like, I don't want to be delusional because that, that's a bad thing. I know that that's not what you girls are talking about. Like you are talking about such a strong belief in yourself that
Mm-hmm.
even if that reality isn't your current reality, and I have to say I'm there because I know the money that I'm sharing with you, the 30, 50K, which is coming to me, is that's not a delusion. Like that is going to happen very soon for
Mm-hmm.
me. But anyone looking at me might be like, well, why? Why would you think that? Where is this coming from? Like, because that is the reality that's going to be happening, just as all
Yeah.
you said, you'll never work for yourself and be able to divorce and be on your own and cope without your mother and single parent and run a business. Like, what are you serious? I'm like, really? Well, let me show you, my love. And I'm
Let
going to
me
do
show
it
you.
with elegance and grace and, be delusional. But where I was going, like, is that available to me, to you, to like, is that for everyone? Or is that just for those of us that are
Absolutely.
lucky? Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yes, of course, it's delusional self-belief, but underneath that is the ultimate level of self-belief. That just like you said when you were like, oh, okay, watch me, like that's ultimate self-belief. Like no one can take that away from you.
No.
No one can take away my delusional self-belief and ultimate level of self-trust that when shit hits the fan, because certainly there are moments where it will, I've got the level of self-belief to know that, okay, we get through this. Because absolutely, like there's definitely been times in my journey as an entrepreneur where everything I was like, you know, everything was batting against me or betting against me. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna make this through right now. But I know I will. I don't know the how,
I'm
but I
like,
know I
that's me
will.
every day, Candy. I'm hoping it gets
And
that.
we do, right?
Oh, yeah. And it makes what I say is it makes me stronger. And it actually also makes me more beautiful because, and what I mean by beautiful is I want it to humble me and surrender me more into that place
Yeah.
of open-heartedness. So it's like, I don't, and I don't get me wrong, I have my moments where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated. And like, I'm human, right? Like, I'm going to feel angry. I'm going to feel
Yes.
frustrated. But then I
Yes.
notice that and I go, is this useful? Is this helpful? Well, not really. So let's come back to it is what it is. Where to now? But
Mm,
yes, the difference though is that mine's out in the future, mine's the carrot there, and others will resonate with this. Whereas, yours is right now, and you still it sounds like you have the carrot there because we're always as entrepreneurs who work with energy, we're always going to be wanting to reach the next level of potential while still enjoying and being grateful for what we have right now.
yeah.
But just this level for me, it's like, yeah, it's breaking through. It's like it's taking a long time. And I'm wondering, is what you're talking about the same thing as manifestation, or is that something different for you?
I guess you could technically label it manifestation, and I guess I could look at how I've manifested my life, like this beautiful apartment that I'm now living in. I've been manifesting this for, I don't know, like 2 years pretty much. Or yeah, like a year and a bit, I've been like, oh, I see myself in a beachfront apartment. I've got white kitchen benches, and I just wake up in the morning and make coffee, and I just look out to the ocean. Like that has been something that I've been constantly like channeling in. Like, hey, that's my future. I can see myself there. I can feel it. I can see what it looks like. I've got people like my partner around me. And so it essentially is a form of manifestation, absolutely. I guess for me, I don't label or I guess identify it as, oh, this is manifestation. I think because yeah, maybe like for me, I'm like I guess the way that I market things and the way that I show my methods, um, depending on what language I use, it attracts a different audience.
Yes. And that brings me actually to a really good question, which is can you walk us through like what are your current offers and what is it that you actually do? Like we know I know you as Candy, the content creator.
Mm.
What does that mean and what do you actually do in your like with your clients?
Yeah, so primarily with like my group coaching client, because that's my main offer in the sense of molding together business mentorship and also content creation. Because I truly believe that it's pretty obvious who's scaling quickly in the industry and who's getting left behind. And the people who are putting time and effort into upskilling how they show up from a shop front in terms of social media, content creation, marketing, they're the people that are being seen quicker. Therefore, they're getting the clients and scaling at a lot faster rate as opposed to people who may not be putting as much time and effort into content creation. And I get it because it's a whole different kettle of fish. Like it's a skill. It really is.
Yeah.
And for me, my focus is blending the personal development. So actually working on becoming and identifying as that future version or the person who's just a few steps away and
Mm.
then marrying that with the business strategy of branding and content and marketing and messaging so you can bring the two together and build the business from the inside out. So that is my way of working with my clients inside my online group coaching space. And then the other way is I also have my in-person 3-day event, which is Create Her, which is my baby, my signature offer. It's basically an extension of me in the truest form. So content, branding, personal development, all the woo-woo stuff, um, catwalks, photo shoots, everything that just makes me feel alive. And also because I see it in the women that come into this space, brings them alive. Because I know when people come into this space and into the room, they are not leaving the same person as who they were when they once walked into the doors. And it's really about building the business from the inside out. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. And because I know, and I know that you know as well as, is once you activate that part of you internally, like you can't take that away from, like, no one can take away a woman's mission once she's fully anchored and in alignment with what she's here to do. Like,
Yeah.
there's no standing in between you and her baby. Absolutely not. And that's what I'm here to really bring to life in my with my clients.
Yeah, amen, sister. No, you are not getting like that is gripped in, locked in, anchored in. That is not going anywhere. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Beautiful Candy, can I share with you my model of self-inquiry, which is one of my business babies? And I would love for you
Yes.
to share with us which one is your favorite and why.
I know from like the minute that you showed me this, the two that jumped out was spiritual self and legacy self.
Yeah.
And I feel like the one who I almost see this in like a 3D uh graphic almost of like what's closest to me and what then builds out the rest of it, like almost like it's some type of geographical like grid. And for me, that was legacy self.
Actually, it's funny that you say that because I do have a graphic somewhere that was organized. I've got to pull that out from a few years ago. That was like what
Wow.
you're talking about. We're trying to put it into something visual, and then yeah, the last piece for me has been well, I'll be honest, I was terrified of Instagram. Like literally, I would actually have a panic attack when I saw the logo. Um, yeah, and then a beautiful client and friend and who's someone who's in my community, she was like, "Let me just gently like bring you into social media." And so for me, like the fact that I'm now like posting regularly and like reaching out to you and doing all those things and like jumping on and engaging, that's actually really, quite huge for me. And I know the women I work with, because most of the women that I do work with are 40 plus. And that wasn't part of our kind of growing up. Like this has come into our lives later
Yeah.
on. And so we're like, what do you mean? Like, what's this? What do you mean by Instagram, right? It's a whole different language. And so, yeah, the interesting piece for me around my own content is how do I reach them? Are they even on Instagram? But I
Yeah.
digress because you were talking about spirituality and legacy, and we're talking about yeah, why that was your favorite, and you were sharing it was kind of like this geographic kind of imagery that you were getting in your mind's eye.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person. Makes obvious sense. And also it's sometimes when I receive downloads or I see things, I'll see it in a visual concept. And the minute that I literally saw this, it was like almost like a geometrical shape. And I was like, I can see it in its 3D form, and it's just like almost like a, I don't even know, Rubik's Cube that's been spun out of place. And there's some things that are closer to me than others. But yeah, the legacy self. And this is really interesting for me
Yeah.
even for me to say this because I never really connected to the legacy piece that people used to talk about all the time, especially when I was in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I was like, I don't know what my legacy is. I'm just trying to figure out me.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, who am I here to impact at a greater scale? Yeah.
Yes. And it's funny because I've got themes every month now with this framework, and March is actually the legacy self month. So we had a master class this morning where I had a speaker come in from Texas, and she was talking about the legacy from her, like her angle as a coach. And yeah, so we're in that kind of legacy
In the
vibe.
vortex.
Yeah. And then yeah, the spiritual stuff I think is kind of our jam. Like you and I connect, and everyone on this podcast, we have to, like, you can't not connect with that, otherwise it would just wouldn't feel right. But yes,
Yeah.
spiritual self as well. Beautiful. I have one last lucky question for you, sweetheart, which is, what advice do you have for others who are creating a business that serves both the world and
Mm.
their heart?
I love this. I feel my mission, like my message would be to connect into the bigness. Because as I spoke into earlier with time collapsing and building a business rapidly, it all comes from a place of like the bigness and moving from a place of it's already done.
Mm,
That big scary thing that's making you like wake up with heart palpitations and be like, oh my God, with the lump in your throat, like, am I going to do this? Lean in and think of the bit, like whatever the bigness is that is creating that almost full body reaction, if it's in alignment with your gut feeling, of course.
yeah,
Lean in, jump off the cliff, and know that there's always a net or a dragon to pick you up and carry you into the next level.
beautiful. Thank you so much, beautiful Kanji. Is there anything else that you feel to share from your heart or from your soul before we officially click off this beautiful session?
I think I just wanted to touch on like your quick little comment earlier about um, being, like working with clients that are in their 40s and above. And yeah, it's like I wholeheartedly hear you in the space of course, like Instagram is like a foreign, uh, it's a foreign app. And of course it's scary as everything is new and scary. And is there people out there that are waiting for you, or is there clients and is there coaches in that age bracket? And absolutely, because I know because you're right here in front of me, and I've worked with so many clients that are in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s before, and they're looking for women just like you
Yeah,
to come into their world and into their vortex. So it's so important to integrate into how I can be seen and expanded and find these women and touch them with my message so
yeah,
they know that they can that I'm here and I'm here to work with them. So I think yeah, it's so important that integrating Instagram, Facebook, social media into your business, regardless of age, is important for expanding your impact.
mm,
Because yeah, because I know my mom, she's in her 60s. She's on Instagram all the time.
yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, no, you're so right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I feel like they're off working with Anthony Robbins or someone that's doing like the big kind of stuff. But it's like, well, if I'm niched and I'm helping women specifically in the creative and wellness space who are 40 plus, and they can work directly with me and be part of this community and open their hearts while they're
So
doing,
much better.
well,
So
you
much better.
can't compete with Anthony Robbins because no one can. But we can't compete with anyone because we're all unique and different anyway. So I don't have to compete
Hmm.
because it's an abundant world. And I'm saying that because I've reached out to a few women and I've said, why didn't you come to me? And they're like, oh, I'm currently working with, XYZ. And I'm saying Anthony Robbins because that's the first thing that often we think of. So yeah, you're right. If I was the first top of mind for them, which comes through branding and that consistency in the messaging, then they would choose me. And that goes for anyone else in whatever niche you're working on. It's um yeah, I know what I do, but my audience needs to know what it is that I do. Yeah.
Yes,
Which is help
exactly.
women who are 40 plus running creative and wellness businesses to reach their first six figures. That's what I do. And I do it with grace
Amazing.
and love.
Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Love that.
Candy, I love you. I am so grateful for your beautiful heart and your energy. And yeah, we will get this online. We're also going to add in the show notes the links to all different workshops and everything else in case someone listening is like, wait a second, who is this chick? I have to come and hang out with her. We'll have all of that there for you as well. So, yeah, so much
Amazing.
love to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, beautiful. So lovely to connect.
The information provided on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical, health, or financial advice. Always consult with a qualified health professional or financial advisor before making any decisions related to your personal health or finances.